Do you face daily challenges while working in SharePoint? Would you like to automate processes, save time, and work more efficiently without having to rely on power users? You can! QuizCom is your one-stop solution for all your SharePoint needs. With 10,000 plus clients and over 70 SharePoint and Office 365 products, we offer a solution for any SharePoint requirement. Let's take a glance at a few of our products. No-code, smart and secured forms. User-friendly and highly customizable organization charts. Data aggregation across your SharePoint Online Tenant and MS Graph API. SharePoint and Exchange Online Calendar aggregation. One-click convert to PDF and print. When using a third-party app, have you ever wondered how secured your data is when it's processed on a vendor's cloud server? All QuizCom apps are non-technical and are 100% secured. Your data never leaves your tenant. Discover how QuizCom can solve your SharePoint frustrations. Go to www.quizcom.com today and try out any QuizCom product for free.
Hello everyone and welcome to my session about building an intranet with modern SharePoint. In this session we are going to cover how you can create an intelligent intranet using modern SharePoint with some touch points on other M365 tools as well. So let's get going. A quick introduction about myself. My name is Maadarani. I am a Microsoft MVP, been an Office 365 MVP since 2015. I do a lot of SharePoint to SharePoint migration, a lot of Office 365 migration. Been using SharePoint since 2001, ever since it was built back in 2000. So I spent most of my life doing a lot of SharePoint on-premise up until 2011 when I started moving into the cloud and SharePoint Online. My Twitter handle and my contact info on the screen if you would like to reach out to me for any questions you might have about this session or about M365 in general. I'll be happy to do so either through an email, checking my blog site, or send me a tweet on my Twitter handle. So we're going to cover a lot of topics in the next 60 minutes or so. So let's get going. I'm going to assume here that the audience have a little bit of knowledge about SharePoint. They may have some knowledge about the modern SharePoint and what's the difference between modern and classic. In any case, doing this virtual as a recorded session, it is always good to have a quick overview between both of them. So let's get going and see what we're going to talk about. So when we are mentioning modern SharePoint, it is a place for integrations in intranet and portals. When we are creating a new SharePoint communication site, and we're going to talk about what the difference between a communication site and other sites, we want to just start sending information to the employees. We're going to be able to how we can organize the news in such a manner that I will receive information that matters to me, based on who I am, who do I belong to from a departmental perspective, for example, where I live, where do I work from. If I am an international company, I want to be able to kind of organize that communication site in a way that it's nice to display the information. I have relevant information for my site. We're going to go and talk about hub sites and what it means. What is a hub site? If you have not heard about a hub site, or what is a hub site and how it works, we're going to cover that as well. We are going to talk about portals and search as well. How we can develop our intranet in this modern SharePoint Online in such a way that we can get to the information right away. We can get to many sites if I have access to it right away, and how I can utilize search in such a sufficient manner so it understands what I am looking for. So with that in mind, let's have a quick comparison between modern and classic. So from a modern perspective, it started this new architecture of SharePoint about 3 years ago, when there was a need to kind of revamp SharePoint, revamp the architecture of it, make it a little bit more faster, nicer, more responsive. So, for example, in a modern way, it is very responsive by design. It is mobile friendly by design, where Classic is not. Back in the days when you used to develop Classic, and Classic is, if you're still wondering what Classic is anything that was built up to, from the cloud perspective, up to SharePoint 2013 kind of way. When SharePoint Online came on board in 2011, 2012, it was based on the SharePoint 2013 server. So that kind of view, the way that we have been using SharePoint for a long time, that's how what we refer to Classic is. Where Modern is the new architecture of SharePoint. It is written in JavaScript and runs on your device way faster. And natively, the mobile, it's built to have a mobile experience as a native platform. Where Classic is based on Microsoft ASP.NET Web technology, which is uses server-based. Yes, we can do some client-based scripting there, but there's a lot of postbacks, there's a lot of requests. So there's a lot of communication back and forth between the server and the client. And with that in mind, that makes Classic a lot more slower than Modern, because Modern is written in JavaScript and runs on your device, like I said. So it makes it a lot faster, because most of the pages are created in the web browser. From a branding perspective, we don't have any more master pages. So no more master pages, which means that we're going to have to use a different way to brand. It uses site themes for basic branding, and we're going to cover more down the road about more branding and how we can do that. Versus Classic, it is both based on master pages with CSS and JavaScript injections that can be customized, whether we did it or not, whether we follow the best practices to customize master pages or not. That was the only way for us to kind of brand Classic SharePoint sites. But obviously, we've always recommended not to use custom master pages. That's just because when back in the days, Microsoft will push some updates about master pages, it would overwrite your work, and you're going to have to redo things from scratch again. When we look at Classic, for example, versus Modern, team sites are still there, but they have been revamped. Modern team sites backed by Office 365 group. That provides a lot more collaboration than actually SharePoint. We got Teams, we got email, we got Planner. Where versus the Classic team site, it is not connected to an Office 365 group. It is much safer to customize because we have to develop within that SharePoint framework. We have some application customizers that we have to develop within them, versus in Classic, any customizations back in the days, there's a lot of higher risk where you can break SharePoint and you can break your site. We can still do, from a customization and branding perspective, we can still create templates. They are a lot different than the site templates we've done before, whether you've done them in the best practice way, when we created that provisioning engine, for example, or you've done it the very quick and dirty way when you go and save the site as a template, and it was always, again, not recommended to do that because it does not provision the site properly from a template that was saved that way. But we can still have site design and site script, and we're going to talk about that as well. The list and libraries improvements, they are anywhere in Classic and Modern. Whether you have a Classic site or a Modern site, you still have the actual modern lists and libraries. And lastly, a few things as well I want to mention. There are no more future improvements in Classic. So if you are on Classic today, and if you hear about all the great announcements about SharePoint sites, those are applicable only to Modern. The product group is not investing anymore in improving Classic. That does not mean that Classic is going away. Classic is staying, and the product group has mentioned it many times that the Classic is staying. They don't have any plans to get rid of it. So don't be scared that this is happening very soon. But basically, from adding new features or improving things, it always happens now in Modern. Also, if there is any web parts, any launch of a new web parts from out of the box web parts from the product group, that all go based on SPFX, the SharePoint framework. and they always go into modern, they don't go into classic anymore. So enough of this comparison, let's get going into what a communication site means. A communication site, if you are a classic SharePoint person, if you have done classic SharePoint for a long time, if you've done a lot of publishing sites, that's basically a close comparison to it. With a publishing site, you can publish pages, you're publishing information to the rest of the organization, and that what is a communication site. It's a great place where you can go and create base your intranet on. It's very structured. It comes with a couple of layouts or 3 layouts where you can go and start creating pages, having some approval workflow there, sharing news, reports, information, announcements, whatever that is that can surface as your place to share the information with the employees. A couple of things to note: that communication site is not backed by an Office 365 group. It has no left navigation. So if you're used to the publishing site where you had a left nav, or if you're coming from a team site with a quick launch, a communication site does not have that. You can, yes, technically you can select a layout that has like 2 columns, a 30-70 column, which the 30% is on the left, and you can have a left nav. I do not recommend that, but definitely it is a possibility. I don't see why would you do it. So stay away from it. It's a nice light layout. It provides a lot of great features, and again, it is mobile ready. A team site, I call it a really nice upgraded version of the classic team site. It's for collaboration. It's backed by an Office 365 groups. It is a place to store your documents, to share documents, to collaborate with others. If you are a Microsoft team, every time you create a Microsoft team, it will create a SharePoint team site for you. And it is mobile ready as well. And team sites can be also private or public. It is private by default, and private means that you have to add members to it to be able to access it. Public, anyone can access that site internally, and by default it creates two kind of admins, two kind of groups. In SharePoint, it's an Office 365 group owners and Office 365 group members. Group owners is basically what we think about site collection admins, that is the same permission level, where group members are people who can edit the site. Owners can manage the entire site collection, versus members can only edit. So when it comes to intranet blocks, there are a few things that we have to think about when we are building our intranet. So we're going to go ahead, we'll get the approval that we're going to build the intranet in SharePoint Modern. We're going to create a very modern, intelligent intranet. So a few basic things that we have to go through, whether you are doing it now or you've done it before. I think those are the key components for an intranet: information architecture, permissions, navigation, search, branding, retention, and disposition. So let's go through each one of them. This is a classic site architecture that we're used to. Back in the days, we used to have a home site. This is one site collection, and under that home site collection, we'll have probably multiple departments. Under each department, you'll have IT, HR, finance, legal. Under IT, you might have a private and a public one. Same thing for HR. On the far right, you will see probably clients, and that might spin off to multiple site collections for client 1, client 2. So this is a typical hierarchical architecture for SharePoint Classic. However, when we go into SharePoint Modern, we're going from a hierarchy into a flat world. So every site will become a site collection. So if we're going back from Classic, we can see that IT it belongs to home, and so is HR and finance and legal. Then when we go to Modern, everyone is a site collection. It still has pages, so we control the landing page, at least one of the landing page in the site pages library, and we're going to have lists and libraries, nothing different than the Classic. But each one of them is a site collection on its own, so we've gone from hierarchy to a flat world. And I know you can think about oh my God, that I have every site right now is a site collection, how I'm going to handle this? Well, technically, from a backend perspective, we can have up to 2 million site collections. So your tenant can handle that. But it's not about if the tenant can handle it or not. It's about how I can handle it, how I can manage many site collections as a SharePoint administrator or as a person who is responsible for controlling and maintaining the intranet site. So let's go through some scenarios here. The introduction of SharePoint hub sites. Quickly after the re-architecture of SharePoint into Modern, and we have gone into a flat world, the product group quickly realized that we need something to group those sites together. It is not a physical grouping, it's more like a virtual grouping. The hub site is technically, it is a site, so you have to create a site first, whether you create it as a communication site or a team site. Typically you create it as a communication site because when you do a hub, you cannot organize the sites together. You are just grouping them together to display them in a specific way. So a hub site brings together related team and communication sites admins create, site owners adopt and use. SharePoint hub sites enables you to link related team and communication sites together based, for example, on a project, department, division, region, whatever that is, whatever best fits your organization. And in doing so, it helps your organization more productivity across any number of sites. So what does that mean? Think about a hub site like the umbrella of all the sites that are associated with it. So if I create, for example, a department site, I can turn it into a hub site and I can associate each departmental site with it. So I can associate the IT site and the HR and finance into it. So let's break it down. What advantages does a hub site give me? It is a communication destination in its own right to serve as a home for shared hub content, which is we're calling the hub site. So we are aggregating content from the bottoms-up view of content. For example, I can get news activities from across all the sites that are associated with it. If I associate an IT and an HR site with this departmental hub site, then basically all the news that I post in an HR and IT site, it will show up in the hub site. From a branding perspective, when I brand the hub site, this branding is pushed down to all the IT and HR sites. If I search on anything I search from the hub site, it will search all the site collections associated with it. So now we are bringing things back together, if you want to think about it that way. We've gone through a flat world, but we want to kind of organize them together. And the reason we're going for a flat world is there are many reasons for that. One is performance, for example. One is site permissions and all the permissions hierarchy mess we have experienced back in the days when you have multiple level of subsites and each subsite might have a different permission hierarchy from the rest of the actual parent or children sites. So it was a huge mess. That way we can organize them as independent site collections but associate them together to be able to have that unique experience from a searching capability, from a content aggregation capabilities, and from a branding capabilities. Also, you can inherit that navigation. So we have a global navigation. We're going to talk about it in a bit. So you can set the navigation level at the hub site and it will push it down to all the associated sites. One quick note that I want to mention here, that if you associate a site with a hub site, it will inherit the branding of the hub site. You have the option as an site owner, so I'm an IT person, I'm associating my site with the departmental site. If I decide I want to move my site somewhere else, I want to deassociate my site with the hub site, the branding of the hub site sticks. So if you have, before you've done the association with the hub site, if you spent some time branding your IT site, Then you decided to associate your site with the departmental hub site. It will inherit the hub site branding. And once you remove that association, you want to go back to be on your own, you cannot implement your original branding that you had done before. So be aware that you lose your original branding. You don't get it back even though you have not associated with the hub site anymore. So once the hub site overwrite your branding, going back and deassociating that will not revert back your previous branding. You have to kind of build it again from scratch. So if you look at the flat architecture perspective, so we've talked about this multiple site collections at the same level. How do we do that? For example, we create an intranet hub that has all the site collections related to departments. We might have a clients hub as well, specifically for clients. So this is where you can start associating hub sites or grouping them together under one umbrella to kind of give that virtual hierarchy or virtual information architecture for your intranet. Probably you're wondering right now if I have multiple hub sites, can I associate a hub site with an existing hub site? This is coming. Yes, you will be able to do that very soon, and I don't know when exactly the actual rollout of that. You will also be able to associate a hub site with another hub site. So a good example, if I have an intranet hub site, I can split that into multiple hub sites. I will have a departmental hub site that is associated with the intranet, and I might have project hub site associated with the intranet hub site as well. So what about navigation? So I mentioned it quickly that if you create a hub, and you can have your global navigation, and that navigation can be pushed down into all the sites associated with it. So it will inherit that navigation, will have that global nav across the board. It's a quick way to go jump from one place to another. SharePoint Home is another way, in my opinion, that you can navigate to a site. And this is your landing page of SharePoint. Once you click on that SharePoint icon on the top left beside the waffle, it will take you to this page that you can see on the screen where you can go and navigate to many sites that you have access to, and many news from the sites that you have access to, anything that you always visit, or any sites that you are following, or you will mark them as favorites. So that is another way to navigate using with SharePoint. We can create a mega menu, and we're going to go through that and how you can create a mega menu. Of course, you can always create your own custom navigation. And there's the same thing that we've done before. There is no difference than what we've done before to create your own custom nav. If the look and feel, if the way the capability for all the out-of-the-box navigation does not meet the requirements, you can always create it with SPFX, and you can drop it there, and you will be able to create and show you navigation. So let's get into some demos here. This is my SharePoint intranet site. So if let's go through a few things first. If we click on SharePoint here, that's what it's referring to. This is one of the navigation items I can have here. So here I can have any news that I have access to, that it surfaces automatically on the SharePoint landing page. If I scroll down, I have all the frequent sites that I have visited lately. So there are a few things that I've been working on, and there are some following sites. So all those sites that I'm following myself that I have marked as favorites. For example, I can go and say, you know what, I'm done with the budget. I don't want to follow it anymore. It doesn't show me anymore. I can do that. I can start going and changing things around here. From here, I can create a site, and usually we can put some governance about creation of the site, and we'll talk about that later on in the site script. You might want to probably disable that create site, because you don't want to have a site sprawl. Everyone and say, oh, I can create a site, because this create a site will create a site collection for you. It's not creating subsites anymore. Like I said, we are in a flat world. Every site is a site collection. So having that capabilities in the hands of the users to be able to create a site might be a dangerous thing. So you want to think about governance. I will talk about that later on. But for now, for the purpose of the demo, let's go through it. If I go and create a site here, I can have the options to create a communication site or a team site. I'm going to go ahead and create a communication site. So clicking on this, I can have 3 different designs that I can pick from: a topic, a showcase, and a blank site. Basically, it's all communication site, but it's how they sliced the actual page from different layouts, or they've added some web parts to it. You can always start from a blank site, but for the purpose of this demo, let's do a showcase. I am going to call June Festival. Automatically, it is opened to the public because I have communication site for everyone. Everyone will be able to see it. In this case, I do have some sensitivity where I can create a site based on specific sensitivity. If it's confidential, private or not, I'm just going to leave it as is. And click on finish. It will create the site for me. As you can see, it's way faster than traditionally any classic site. Classic site back in the days will probably take, it says, up to 15 minutes. I've heard stories 24 hours back in the days, but here within 5 seconds I was able to create a site and I will be able to work with it. So let's go back into a site that I have already created and we can work with that site. Also, if I go back into SharePoint here, it will take me back to the SharePoint landing page. I can also go and create a team site from here. Let's pick a team site. I won't go through it. So let's say here, call it Festival Committee. As you can see, it will automatically create the email address of the group, Office 365 email address, the actual site. It shows me that it is available. Of course, I can always edit the group email address. I can always edit the site address here. So this is what it shows here, but I can always change it. I'll add a description. And here what I can say is going to be private or public. Or I can select the language and I go next, and it will be able to give me a site, a team site. So let's cancel this for now, and we'll go into my demo, which is the brand, the actual work at Contoso. This is my intranet page that I have created. It has news items on the left and has news items on the right as well. It has some financial statuses, some events. This is mostly out of the box with some web parts in it. So let's go ahead and work with a few things here. The edit the page, I will be able to go and change the layout of the site or add more web parts. On the top or the left hand side here, if you see the plus sign, this is where I can add a new section. I can click on it and it will ask me how many columns do I need. So I'm going to choose a layout that can go from 1 column to all the way to vertical section. Full width column, I can do it this way, and it goes for the full width where I can add any of those hero web parts. If I select one right now, I can say I want a hero web part. Is like a scrolling web part, is one of the most common and popular web part here, where I can display the most relevant information on the home page. Or if I delete that, if I have selected this layout and I say, you know what, this is not the layout I want, I can always go and edit that and make it 2 columns, or I make it 1/3. So I can go and play around with it, or I can say, you know what, it's fine, I'm just gonna delete this section. Also within this section, so I have a section here that is only 1 column. If I click on that section, I can go back and edit this section, and then I can split it into 2 columns, and automatically here it will show me the 2 columns. Let's go back to 1. I can go and add a web part here as well, where I, for example, let's call highlighted content. I like this web part. This web part, it shows me all the documents or all the content I have been working on. So this basically, like you see here, it shows the most recent documents. And this is a hub site, and you can see that I want to see content from all the sites in the hub or a specific site collection. And I can say I want any document type, or I want to be specifically for PowerPoint. If I do that because I want it a little bit flashier, here we go, it's showing me a preview. It is responsive because it's a client site scripting. It is rendered in the browser. It's not making any calls back to the server. There is no post back, no refreshing. Back in the days, if I want to do any modification to any web part, I will have to select the actual change, click on apply, wait for the page to refresh again, and it will be there. I can do some filtering also, so also I can add another document type. Let's see what I'm gonna do here. Maybe Excel. If I have any, there is some Excel documents. I can add some filters to search based on keywords. Let's see, I want to have customer, for example. If you click on add customer here, and automatically it filters based on customer. So it's very, very dynamic. I can sort by as well. This is one example of one web part, and you can see how much power it has and what cool things we can do. We can enable audience targeting, and enable audience targeting. It will allow me to target this content for specific audience, similar to what we did back in the days with classic SharePoint as well. I can change the layout of it. So this is a grid. I can change it to a carousel or to a list item, and you can see the carousel. It does not look that great, so now let's not do it. Oh, here we go. Maybe it took some time to render. I'm like, okay, well, that's not bad then. It's a PowerPoint presentation. If I go and see what an Excel spreadsheet will look like, it's a phone mobile customer feedback. But again, it's rendering while I'm actually building that, so I don't have to go back and forth and refresh the page. Looks like, yeah, maybe this will not work properly for Excel. So as you can see, you are building the actual web page or intranet, and it's not taking me a long time to do it. So I can finish this, close it, and here you go. I have something here. Maybe it's not the right place for it to be. I don't want to see the most recent document. When I go into my intranet, I want to see more news. So I can take that web part and move it to the bottom. So I can scroll down. Should I put it here? Maybe financial status is nicer to be first. Maybe I'll put it after. Maybe I'll put it here. And here we go. I just moved it down here. Now I can see there are some white spaces here. Maybe if I move it to the right, it's better that way. Or I can move it all the way to the bottom. So I have full flexibility to do so, and I'm happy with it. I'm gonna publish it. And here you can say, hey, wait a second, you just published. What if you want to control this? What if I don't want anyone to publish anything before someone approves it? That is a quick way to do that as well. Back in the days, we had to go through to the back end and create a publishing approval workflow, and we need to really know a little bit on how workflows work. Not anymore. If I had gotten the training for that, I can go into the site content. Every page you create here goes into the site content. So it goes into the site pages. So I click on the site pages here. This is the pages library where it has the home page. I can go and create a workflow right away. So I can click on automate, power automate, and configure page for approval flow. It is as easy as this. So now I can go and create a flow, and what's going to show me is going to show me what kind of services it will is going to require to create this workflow. So it's going to do an approval. It's going to go into the SharePoint permissions, and it's going to send me some notifications. I click on continue. I will call this one work site approval workflow, and I need to select people, so I can select multiple people here. So let's select Megan. Megan is always quick in approving pages changes for me. So I click on create, and this is as easy as that. Once I create that workflow, the next time, so it gave me a notification here, the next time I'm going to go and create a page or edit a page, it will have to actually submit it for approval. So let's go back and edit the page. As you can see now, it changes it from republish to submit for approval. And I'm going to go back and say, you know what, this one was not very popular. I'm just going to click on it and delete it. And you know, it looks a lot nicer. At some point I might come back to this kind of web part. I cannot publish it. I'm going to have to submit it for approval. Once I do that, it will send a notification to Megan saying that Mike is looking to approve this page. I click on continue. I can add a note to Megan, say, I removed the web part based on your request. Please review and approve. There you go. Click on submit. I am Megan at the same time. We'll definitely use it for the purpose of this demo. You will have to, for the time's sake, I'm just going to approve my stuff, but typically that will be a different person because I am Megan. So it is going to get me this view, review approval. I'm going to say yes, I'm going to approve it. At the same time, here we go. There is a Microsoft Flow email that I got. So Megan got that email. I can go and approve that email from that page from my email. Or I can, if I am on the page, I can click on it. So I can go ahead and say yes, approve from here. So I don't have to leave my email. I can click here to review the page. It tells me basically that this was sent, and this is the actual note that I sent to Megan, and I can put the reason for approval or rejection. So if I click on submit here, I don't have to leave my email. That's happening from Outlook here. So let's close this. If I refresh this page, it should show me it is published. There we go, published on today, 6/13/2020. From a navigation perspective, let's look at the navigation. Let's go into, actually, before we do that, let's go into one of the subsites. So right click on this one, and I'm gonna go into the brand. A brand is another communication site that is associated with the hub site. Actually, we can do a couple of things here also. First of all, let's go back into SharePoint. And I have created, what is that site I just created here? We called it Festival. Let's search for it. That's actually, I'm jumping into search, but just because, here we go. We'll get back into the search, but that was the quickest way for me to get into the festival. I want to show you here, the reason I went back to this communication test site that I just created with you, I want to show you how I can associate it with this work at Contoso site. This is a hub site. You can see there is a global nav. We're going to get to it in just a second. If I click on the June Festival, the site I just created, I want to make it as part of my intranet. I can go into my site information, and then I can associate it with the work at Contoso. As you can see, there are a couple of hub sites here, but for our purpose, we're just going to associate it with the work at Contoso. And then click on that, click on save. As you can see, the whole thing is going to change. When I click on save, here we go. I did not have to refresh it. It refreshed everything automatically for me. It has inherited the actual navigation. The theme is completely different right now. The colors are way different. So now I am part of the work at Contoso. If I come at the work at Contoso, this is it. This is my work here. This is my site address. This is my hub site. I can go and edit this navigation. I'm gonna go and create a new link. And let's just call it Microsoft now. I'm just gonna create this link, www.microsoft.com. Click on OK, and I'm gonna promote it now because I've just added it at the bottom. It will automatically add it as a sub-site or a sub-link of the sales and marketing, but I want it to be on its own. I am gonna promote it to a sub-link, and then maybe I am gonna put it first here. Click on save, and Microsoft is here. If I go into my brand site, click on refresh, Microsoft is here. If I go into my June Festival site, click on refresh, Microsoft is there as well, and it inherits everything. So that is one of the global navigation I can do in terms of how I can navigate back and forth between multiple sites associated with it. If I don't want that association to be with the home site because it's gone, we finished June, I don't want to show it anymore, I can go back into, I don't want to delete the site, I just don't want it to be associated anymore with the hub site. I'm going to go back, this is my June Festival, I'm going to remove that association from the hub, click on site information and say no more association anymore, click on save. And the association is gone. As I mentioned before, the branding is not. So before you associated this site with the hub, if you had your own branding, you have to be aware of that. Once you associate it with the hub site, it inherits that branding. If you remove the association, your previous branding will not be stored anymore. You'll have to rebrand it. So be aware of that. Okay, let's go back into the deck and continue on from a SharePoint intranet perspective. Let's talk about taxonomy. How can be efficient in metadata and content type? As you can see that we are gone from a hierarchy in a site architecture into a flat world. That means, back in the days, I would create my content types and metadata at the site collection level, and every subsite will inherit that. So it was a very easy way. It was a very easy way for me to control the content types and metadata. I create it in one place, and it pushes it down to all the actual subsites. In our world right now, in the flat world, it is a flat architecture. Every site collection is its own site. So how can I apply the same taxonomy across the board? Let's look at different options. The first thing I definitely recommend is use the management data service. Management data service allows a good way for you to centralize your taxonomy and your term sets. Some are using Content Type Hub, and if you don't know what Content Type Hub is, typically a Content Type Hub is a content type syndication service. So you create typically a team site. You create a team site and you enable the content type syndication service on it. You create all your content types, all your metadata onto that site, and all the other site collections will subscribe to it. So it is a centralized place to control your content types and metadata. And then every time there is a refresh, it will push it down. Unfortunately, in the cloud world, this is not really working properly. It takes time. Sometimes it doesn't update. Because it's in the cloud, we have no option to control a timer job. The syndication of the updates of those centralized content types are done through a timer job. And because we don't have access to it, we cannot go and just give it a kick if it's not updated quick enough. So I've heard really terrible stories about that in the cloud. I definitely don't recommend it today. There is a revamp of the Content Type Hub happening. We're going to modernize again. So we've modernized the SharePoint search, we've modernized the SharePoint sites, we're going to modernize the content type, and it's being rolled out, not the content type, the taxonomy, the management of the data store is being rolled out to multiple tenants right now. So it's in the process of the new way of managing metadata service, and the Content Type Hub will be next. So how do I do it? Myself, what is my recommendation for you to do it? Definitely always create your site, your metadata at the site level. So create site columns, and you can use site scripts. If we're going to standardize specific content type and metadata across site collections, think about it about previously what I talked about site templates. This is very, very similar on how we're going to templatize the actual your information architecture. So you can create a site script, and then you can go and deploy the content types and metadata across all the site collections every time you create a site, and we're going to talk about that in a bit. From a search capabilities, we have actually, instead of going through all those slides, let's jump into the demo and show you the site. I quickly showed you site search before, but let's do that more from here. Think about Microsoft Search. We no longer have SharePoint Search. It has been switched to Microsoft Search. Unless you are still in Classic, you can still manage SharePoint Search through the Classic SharePoint Central Admin. But from a modern world, we are in Microsoft Search, where I can search anything. Depends on the level I am at, and depends on the permissions I have. So if I am at the office.com, it's going to search everything for me. It's going to search my emails, it can search all the apps, SharePoint, OneNote, anything. So if I go and search for customer, it's going to bring me back a lot of things here. This is from office.com. So I'm going to click on show more results. It's going to show me everything from here, whether it's people, this is a web page here, this is a site, some documents, so I can filter on files if I want to, I can filter on people. So this is from the office.com. It searches anything, any service that you have access to. However, if I am in SharePoint, so let's exit this search. This is the SharePoint landing page. We're back to it. If I am in SharePoint, it's going to search all the SharePoint site collection I have access to. So this is basically, if you want to relate to it, this is your search center. Back in the days in classic world, when you create a search center or a corporate search center that creates or searches everything, this is very, very similar to what is actually the same from a technology, from an architecture perspective. So here I can go again and word search for, what is it, news. Well, if I type it in here, so when I click on it, it kind of gives me some suggestions. And the suggestions are based on a few things: the most visited places and the latest sites that I have visited, whether it's a site or a file or people that I have interacted with. So it kind of gives me some suggestions before I start typing in. So what we were looking at, we were looking to look at news. Once I start typing, it will start giving me suggestions. It's either I'm happy with the suggested results here, or I can click on show more results, and it's going to go again across all the SharePoint site collections, and it is going to show me some of these things with a preview here. I can click on filter. I can say the only filter I have today is the date. What's coming is we will be able to customize the search results. We'll be able to create our own filters. We'll be able to create our own custom views, similar to what we did with search display results pages before. It will be the same thing here in a modern world. I can go and I want to see in the past 24 hours if I've done anything. So it was only one thing that I've done, maybe the past month. Not much, maybe 3 months also, or the past year. Well, there we go. I haven't been in this demo for a while, I guess. Or I can go back into any time, click on close. I can go and say I want files only. It shows me all the files. It shows me all the sites or people or news items, whatever that is. That is great. So we've gone from the SharePoint, from the Search Center level, all the way to from the Office level to Search Center level, so searching all the SharePoint site collections, but within a help site. Actually, I want to go back and associate this just to show you how quick the search crawl is. So I'm going to go back to June Festival. Let's go and say I am going to associate that site with the hub site. So let's go ahead and do this association. Within that, we are going to create a new page, a news post, and say, make it a little bit visual, create a post, and name of the post here, we'll go COVID-19 return to work guidelines. I don't want my name here. Then we can go and pick an image. Just let's quickly go through and make it a little bit. I have a lot of stock images that I can use. I don't have to go and search for something. So let's insert this one. I can make it a focal point here and say, please review these guidelines about COVID-19 policies, whatever it is. Just trying to add some content, and I am gonna post this news. So I have posted this news about in the June festival site that it is associated with the actual hub site. And the reason I want to do that is I just want to show you how quick search is. Now that I have associated that site with the work hub site, I can just do a couple of refresh here. I can go and start searching. When I search in the hub, it will search for me anything that is any site that is associated with the hub. So it's not only this work account, so all the sites associated with the hub, it will search that for me. So let's see if it shows me COVID. I'll see how quick it is. Not yet. So let's give it a couple of minutes. But what do we have here? We have brand. I think we have some content here in the brand document. So brand is a completely separate site. So let's see what we have here. In this brand document, we have a 3D printer research proposal. So if I am looking for a printer here, it will automatically, here we go, it's showing me that it is the 3D, the title of the page of the document, and it is on the site brand page. I can click on show more results, and I will be able to click on this one, open in a new tab. It can give me a preview of it. Open in a new tab, it will take me the actual document itself. So this is, I'm searching from the hub site. Also, if I go into the brand site, I can search here. When I'm searching here, it will search only the content within the brand site only, because this is a site on its own. It starts giving me suggestions, whatever that suggestion is. If I am in the document library itself, it is going to say search the document library. Here we go. I can click on it. It will give me some suggestions as well. Let's give it another try here to see if it's quickly associated this or crawl the search for me. Here we go. As you can see, news. The news item is based on search as well. So you have the, oh, I made a mistake. That's why probably it did not show it. It said that COVID, not a COVID. Sorry about that, but basically here we go. This is the news item automatically showed up on the hub site. So this is the content aggregation I was talking about. So let's search for COVID. Here we go. That's the first one. If I click on it, it takes me back now into this page that I have looked at it. I can go back and edit this. Oh, here we go. This is the typo. Unfortunately, the URL that says COVID, I have to go into the backend update it. I won't do that, but anyway. You get the point here. They have that I've updated this, and then it was able to search for this page right away. Across this page, I'll be able to search on it right away. Moving on, from a branding perspective, like I said, we have the capabilities to create site designs. Site designs are equivalent to a site template. So you can usually create a new site from it. You can update existing sites. You can use a site script. It's a JSON string that contains actions to be executed by the site design. So what it means, for example, you create your site design and you associate some site scripts with it. Exactly what I said before, when you create a template, you can create some branding associated with it. You can have a logo there. You can have a specific theme, and you run a site script to go and execute adding content types, adding document libraries, associating the content type with the document library, adding metadata to it. You can have some workflows that you can kick in. For example, if you want the actual site creation to be approved by someone, you can kick off that actual workflow approval. So you can do a lot of automations when you create a site design, and then we'll show you what the progress is and what is it doing when it's creating that site design. It's very, very powerful. I definitely recommend you to do it. This is some sample, the annotation of a site script. For example, I am applying here. The verb is the action, what I'm trying to do. I am applying, for example, a theme. What is the theme name is my custom theme name. The verb here, the next one, I am creating a SharePoint list site. The list name is student. What is the template type is 100, which means it's custom list site. And I'm creating a verb. A verb is a description of it. I'm adding a field. So here in this side here, I'm adding an SP field. So I have a lot of things that you can do. And this is an example of what you can do from a site scripting perspective. I definitely encourage you to go into and Google it and say what a site script is, and it will land you on a docs.microsoft.com that will give you a lot of things from site scripting and site design. Conditional formatting. This is a great thing. Whether it's a conditional formatting or a view formatting, this is a quick way to actually make the list a little bit more alive, or the document library is more alive. It doesn't matter how much good looking sites I create. Going into the document libraries and lists might be a little bit boring. It's very, very boring. Even though it's modernized right now, it's much nicer than before, but I can do a lot better. So let's do a quick test here. So let's go back into my site. Let's go back into my document library. I have a document library with some metadata here. I can go and format this view. If I click on all the view here, this is the view here. I click on format current view. It can give me some styles here. So each row is different, alternate row style. Yeah, maybe, but I have gone into GitHub and I have downloaded some code. This is JSON code. All you have to do is just do a web search for view formatting on GitHub. It will give you a lot of great examples. I am the type of person, if it exists, why they create the wheel. This is like a thumbnail view of the of this document library. So I can do that. It goes and gives you the preview of the actual document. So here we go. I can create a view that is a lot nicer. Or if I want to do an actual formatting of a specific column, I can go and click on the column and say format this column. I can format the base and say format them that way. Anything that is in the future, do it in a specific color. Anything in the past, make it yellow. And that's the due date. I can go do a conditional formatting and say if due date is before today, then I want it to be red. And here we go. So I can do some view things here. I can say another condition, if due date is after today, then you have to show it in a specific way. And you can say this. So I can save that each time I want to do it, I will save it. It will show that formatting for me. Also, I can do another one here. So let's cancel this. If I want to do a formatting here, I can do format this column. Same thing, yes, no. If it's no, red, the yes is green. But I don't want to show red. So I can go into the advanced mode, similar to what I did before, and I can format it in a specific way, and I can go and get those code from GitHub and not display that the format is this publishes is no or yes. So this is a quick overview of the conditional formatting and for views and columns. Lastly, let's talk about retention and disposition. Definitely, like any other content information in Office 365, you definitely have to apply retention period. We do have a centralized dashboard where we can define labels, where you can say, I want this actual content to be retained for 7 years, or trigger a disposition view, or you can say, I want to delete it after a specific one. And you can create those labels, and those labels can be applied. You can go and apply them on each page. And when a retention has been met, it will either delete the page, or it will take it into a disposition stage where you can decide when you're going to delete it or not. Definitely from a governance perspective, we want to be very flexible in governance. We want to make sure we don't get into site sprawl. You want to plan and configure the governance first. You want to communicate your guidelines. Like I said, site script is your best friend. Automation, your site management is really, really a great way to do it. You don't want to keep allowing people to create their sites. They don't want to allow them to create sites on their own without specific guidelines. Have a common design. You definitely want to train them on how to do things and want to connect with them that change is good. If you don't do change, you're not going to improve, you're not going to get better at what you want to do. And lastly, when I do my intranet, what is my homepage? My homepage, typically when you create if you have created Gtanet a while ago, contoso.sharepoint.com, your root site collection is classic. If you've done it today, it is not anymore. Where should I do it? Should I go into contoso.sharepoint.com/site/intranet? For me, it is not a good way to create your homepage and have your home as that site, a URL that is that long. So I think it should be a lot shorter. Should I do a redirect? Other options. But how can I do it? A site swap, for example, is a good example. You can create a communication site and then brand it as your home site, and you can run this PowerShell command called invoke SPO site swap, and you can swipe your classic SharePoint root site collection with this communication site. Or you can create a home site. A home site is based on a communication site that has been customized and it has a lot more features than a communication site. It's very, very branded, and typically this is your maybe your corporate intranet. This is where you store information, you showcase user information, you can share some compelling videos, you can create beautiful dynamic employee experience that is accessible and available across devices. So you can connect the workspace with intelligent search and rich navigation. It's really, really cool. This is one of the options that you can have for your intranet. Or if you don't want to go through that whole hassle, you can convert your root site into modern site communication site. You can run this command, enable SPO com site, but the rules is that it should not be publishing infrastructure enabled. Or if you want to convert your root to modern, this is adopted from Anderson's slides. You can create a modern page. First of all, you have to activate the site pages feature, create a modern page, run a PowerShell from SharePoint Online, and these are the PowerShell. You can copy and paste them, or you can Google that as well. That is another option. And once I am done, I will have this modern intranet where I can organize and connect the workplace. I will have a very cool intranet based on all the actual cool features. I can start building pages for mobile and other places in the intranet. Definitely you want to look at SPFX to develop your own. It's a good way to go and customize web part. There's nothing stopping you from customizing your web part and create your own web parts that don't exist as an out of the box. That is something that you probably, if you haven't developed that, it's a good way to start looking into it. If you have done a lot of client-side scripting, it is an easy transition for you. Some resources also that you might want to look at that I can share with you. That is a great places to look at resources. And again, thank you for attending. It has been great sharing some of the experiences I've done with you. My contact info on the page. If you want to reach out to me at any time, I would be very happy to assist whenever I can. Thanks for attending again.